And thank you for a very inspiring and emotional presentation. In the presentation you talked about Hilda, and Hilda seemed to be a preterm infant who, well, from what I understand, was a bit of a trigger for you to start research in this area. Can you tell us a little bit about her and what it was that spurred you on?
Yes. Hilda was one of those extremely immature infants that had several problems to tolerate enteral feeding. And she was actually affected in all her subneurological system, both breathing, circulation, and also have a lot of stress behavior. So after 3 weeks on IV lines and risk for a new septicemia, we have to do something. So what we did was trying to think, can we give human milk in other ways than by bolus feeding, by meal feeding? So we put her mother's milk in an infusion pump and let it drip into the stomach around the clock. And it was amazing. After about 3 days, she was off the IV lines and did very well. So that was a lifesaver for her.
And you talked about stress, also the influence of stress,
Yeah.
and the continuous versus the bolus, that really had an impact.
Yeah, this case triggered us to do a randomized controlled trial. So we did that and used 3 hospitals in Stockholm. So it was quite a big study we started just to sort out not only about the ability to take in feeds better, but also to look up how these infants, these feedings acts on the behavioral part of the infant, actually stress behavior. So we did and videotaped about 174 hours of film during feeding on all in this study, and then analyzed this and look up on stress behavior. And so what we saw at the time was really significant, with better and less stress. And also in the follow-up we realized that those infants that got continuous feeding did breastfed in a much higher, significant higher levels. So what happens is that if you have a bad condition in early postnatal age, we know that could affect later on and up in the older age also. So with this method we were able to give a huge lot more human milk in early postnatal age, better nutrition and less stress for the infant. And then we have the situation later on with higher levels of breastfeeding in the infants that was exposed to this method. So now this method is used not only in Stockholm, but it's used all over the world.
That's fantastic, and it all kind of originated with Hilda. And
Yeah.
if there was an area in terms of next steps for research for you personally, would it be to continue along these lines?
Yeah, it's a lot of research. This just opened a new field, I would say. So future directions is of course to look at hormonal levels. For instance, we need to check what happens with, we can look also at appetite regulation, and it's a lot of new areas that we think that we don't have data on. What will happen with these infants later on? So we need more studies that can just see if they can give the same result as us. So we need this study to be replicated, of course, and in the same way, hopefully, but also they're open up for other things to look up.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Anne.